Boom, shakalaka, boom. Here we are again. Just done 2 short days ago, but I'm going to jump back in here tonight. I'm going to start doing these more regular with everybody because what I'm going to start doing is putting these live streams on members only afterwards instead of letting them upload as a podcast, because sometimes it hurts the numbers, I think, for the actual podcast. But we already got a few people in the house, but tonight we're going to talk about Alabama and the Seattle Seahawks are being accused of some shady dealings and some not so nice things as far as etiquette goes, and as far as maybe fooling up some recruits and that kind of deal. Oklahoma Sooners, we're going to talk about them as well. As you know, I done a podcast on them earlier today about the fact that they continue to not only do well nationally recruiting, but now they're going into California, the state where Linky Boy is. You know, everybody was talking about how great Linky Boy is going to be nationally, but now he can't even seem to put that wall up around the state of California like he's claimed he's going to do for the last 3 years, as Oklahoma is now coming there and taking more top 20 talent than the USC skill shitters. So, I mean, what gives? And I'm not the one doing this and bringing this up. People's like, why are you always comparing Oklahoma and USC? I'm not the one bringing it up. Sooners, why I brought it up, a lot of the Los Angeles Times people out there bringing it up, they're the ones. Mostly it's the California media out there that keep bringing up and comparing how Lincoln Riley's doing as compared to how Oklahoma's doing in recruiting. Because I think it bothers them very immensely that not only is Oklahoma out recruiting USC, but they're coming into their backyard and taking their shit. And they already have problems enough with the Oregon Ducks coming there all the time. As I said earlier today in my podcast, Oregon comes in there all the time and pushes their shit in. It's like the sisters on Shawshank Redemption when they got Andy Dufay in the kitchen. That kind of deal. I like to say that the sisters left USC alone, but they didn't. You know, Washington, Oregon's not the only ones coming in there punking USC, though, either. Not only is Oklahoma doing it, but you can get Alabama and Georgia, who are way the hell over here on the East Coast doing it, as I said earlier, in the podcast they're done. You have a lot of people up in here already. Let's call out some names real quick. A little roll call going on. Big Cojones Kelly's in the house. Eric Taco Marino's in the house. They have their badges. They're deputized. They're in the outlaw posse. So if you want to be like them and have a badge and get deputized and get a random Four Horsemen shout out on the podcast, as well as possibly the comment of the day on the podcast. Fred Bagley was the comment of the day on today's podcast at the very end, if you watched it to the end. If you want to get all that, just sign up for the Outlaw Posse. It's just $2.99 a month. So join button, a subscribe button, and you'll be deputized and you'll get all that good stuff. JD Wilmoff's in the house as well. Can't hang out with you tonight. I got out-of-town company, but I'll watch the replay later. Well, yeah, you can watch the replay later because the replays from now on are going to be on members only. If y'all want to watch the replays of these live streams, as I mentioned earlier. We also have Lori Brogdon in the house. Thunder OU Center, as always, a mainstay. Mary Caroline, Sweet Caroline's up in here. What's up, posse? Says Mary Caroline. As well as Lori Brogdon. What up, peeps? You think you are a Christian on wrestling or something? You got peeps now, huh? Lori Brogdon got peeps. Killer Breeze is in the house. What's up, Outlaw Posse? What's up, Killer Breeze? Let me move on down here. See who else is stirring up the shit. There we got Fred Bagley, as I mentioned earlier. I don't know if you watched today's podcast, Fred Bagley, but you were the comment of the day. It was a little later, much later in the show. I almost forgot to do it. So some people may not get to see it. You may not even see it. Fred Bagley said, that's my second comment of the day. Thanks, Outlaw. That's right. You're right up there with the likes of Killer Breeze and Jeff Payton and these other people like Big Cojones Kelly got their badges. And they got to be the comment of the day. Now let's go back to the Alabama situation. I saw the article the other day. I'll bring it up real quick for y'all. Give y'all a little rundown of this. See what y'all think about it. Y'all give me your opinion on it. I'm an Alabama fan, so I might be a little too hot. I mean, a little too close to the heat here. Right here it says, y'all see that? News broke on Friday night that Alabama Crimson Tide offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb is leaving Tuscaloosa. Grubb followed Crimson Tide coach Kalen DeBoer from Washington to Alabama. According to Seattle Times, this is a move that's actually been in the works for a while, but the Seahawks waited to make the move official, in part so the 30-day transfer window that opened at Alabama when Nick Saban retired could pass. So, as you scroll on down here, the Seattle Times is saying, though the Seahawks had interest in Grubb from the start, one reason for waiting to make the hire was to allow the 30-day window for Alabama players to enter the transfer portal to pass. So, normally, I'm real unbiased towards my own team. I'm sometimes a little too hard on my own team. But in this situation, I'm going to have to take up for Alabama. Because why not wait till after the 30-day window? Is it maybe a little breach of etiquette somewhat? Maybe. But I don't think it's fair that when a head coach leaves that maybe you're the only team outside of maybe 3 or 4 that are open season for everybody else. Meanwhile, everybody else gets to keep their players. They're not open season. So what they ought to do is do away with that rule where the players get 30 days to decide whether they want to leave or not when a coach leaves, and just wait until the open portal period. That's what is it, in April, the next open portal period? Why not just wait till April? It's just a few more months. Everybody else will be fair. See, because when the portal opens up like that, on Alabama, Michigan, back when Oklahoma lost Lincoln Riley. When the portal opens up like that, just on one team, then that one team has nowhere to replenish their players when they leave unless they go to another team that lost their coach like Alabama did. We went to Washington and took some of their players. Washington went to other colleges and got them some players. I mean, there was, 7 or 8 openings, but not right about that time. So there were probably about 3 or 4 teams that you could cherry pick from. If you're one of those teams that lost your head coach, that university is at a clear disadvantage. Now, I know you're saying, well, it's not fair to the players. If the coaches leave, they should be able to leave. Well, that's true. But why put that university at a disadvantage? The university didn't do nothing. It was the coach. So why not just wait till April when the open portal hits for everybody? And then they can leave. I mean, it's just 2 more months. It ain't like they're in the middle of the season. It's just a way, once again, for the NCAA to do stuff inconsistently and to just botch, I almost said a bad word, botch screw a lot of stuff. But let me stop screening that. But that's what that's all about. That's what you hear in all this shadiness about Alabama, because they asked the Seahawks to wait 30 days before they poached Ryan Grubb off of them, is what the Seattle Times is accusing Alabama of and the Seahawks. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I mean, that's not a fact. Ain't nobody really came out and said it's a fact. Kalen DeBoer and Alabama hadn't come out and said it was a fact. The Seahawks haven't said it's a fact. It's just the Seattle Times and some of the media outlets saying that. But even if it is a fact, like I said, I don't feel bad about it. I'm not saying that because of my team. I'm just saying because it's not fair that university is put through that. Just like Oklahoma was put through the same shit 2 or 3 years ago. Sooner Legends Podcast is in the house. Sooner Legends Podcast says, Killer Breeze, how are you? That's not actually the article that I wanted. That's not the actual comment that I wanted, excuse me. Actually, I wanted this one. Thunder OU Sooner says players should not be able to follow their coaches to another team. I sort of agree with that. I sort of don't. But the point is that why is the university and the rest of the players on that team subjected to the unfairness of this just because the coach left? Just because one man left, the whole university and their fan base and the other players that stayed get punished by allowing 30 or 40 players to leave. Now, Alabama was lucky in that Washington was in the same situation because we poached their coach. And then, of course, you had Arizona and a few other teams, but not many to choose from. Meanwhile, you got teams like Georgia and USC and UCLA and LSU and Florida State and Ohio State They all get to come in and poach your players at will. And they don't have any threat of that just because their coach just happened to stay. I just don't see that as being fair. There's something that really stinks about that. So if we breach their etiquette, well, their etiquette can kiss my country ass. How about that? I did send you an invite, John, so anytime you want to jump up in here, just let me know. But what do y'all think about all that? Y'all think Alabama and the Seahawks were a little too shady in how they did that? Or do you think the transfer portal people got exactly what they deserved in the fact that Alabama and the Seahawks found a little bit of a loophole around that sorry-ass shit, in my opinion? Sooner Legends podcast says, I'm like Ryan. National Signing Day in February and April should be when the portals are open. Yeah, I think that's the way it should be. Just because one man leaves doesn't mean the whole university needs to be punished. You know what I'm saying? What do y'all think about the article today about, I think it was yesterday, that Sooner Wires put up about Oklahoma's not just beating them in national recruit now. Oklahoma's going into the state of California and doing better. I mean, is that not the ultimate slap in the face? And I was going to stop talking about Otebo, but this shit just keeps percolating. And if it smells to high hell, I'm going to call it out. I mean, I understand maybe you getting beaten nationally. I really don't understand that either. But you professed unto the USC Trojan Nation. You said unto them, thou shalt not cometh unto California and stealeth our recruits. They shall come here and play for me, the best coach of all time. You professed and preached that, just like an old corrupt-ass Sunday morning preacher, Saturday night drunk. That's what you did. That's what you did, man. You one of them old corrupt preachers like Jim Baker and Jimmy Swaggart and shit. Been busy, Breeze, but caught up now. Jeff Payton's in the house. The transfer portal, Jeff Payton says the transfer portal is a joke anyway. It's a real-life example of a lie. Too many inconsistencies in its story. Very well said, Jeff. Very well said. Also, there's so many comments coming in here now. We got over 25 people in here now. If you would, if you want to get me to answer a question, just click on the little money dollar sign at the bottom, write your comment out, make a small donation, then hit send, and I'll read your comment out post haste. Also, you'll see all these people with the badges in here, as I said before: Jeff Payton, Sooner Legends Podcast, Mark Clark, Fred Bagley, Big Cajones, Kelly, Killer Breeze. They all have their badges. If you want to get your badge and get deputized, it's $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. It's just a half a bottle of water. Little join button, next subscribe button. Also, what's really, really great and free is the big four. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Please subscribe if you hadn't already. And please share out with all your friends so we can get this party crunk up before the third season of the Outlaw Posse is upon us this September. It's going to be a hell of a one, too. We got a new 12-team playoff system. We got new coaches out the wazoo. We got new teams coming into the big stank and into the SEC. It's going to be a hell of a season. If I can make it to September and keep the lights on here, it's going to be a hell of a season. And I'm going to try to get us some more guests on here. Also, if y'all want to suggest a guest, or if y'all know someone that maybe is a little bit of a celebrity that you can hook us up with, just let me know. Hit me up on Jesse Paul Clark on Facebook in the DMs, or on at OCF Productions on Twitter, aka X. Hit me up in the DMs on there. Send me a link to whomever you want me to have as a guest on the show. Big Cajones Kelly says, Tebow's border is as strong as the southern border. Which southern border would that be? The Guatemalan border between Mexico or the one here? Because they both suck. It's like I said in today's podcast earlier, that wall that Tebow, in case y'all don't know, we're not talking about Tim Tebow, T-E-B-O-W. We're talking about T-B-O-W without the E. That stands for the bitch out west in reference to Lincoln Riley, a.k.a. Linky Boy, and his declaration that there would be a border or a wall put up around California as far as recruiting goes. It's about as weak as Joe Biden's border wall down there on the southern border, as Big Cojones Kelly alluded to. Sooner Legends podcast says, I'm quite confident that BV is building something special here at OU. I think you might be right. As a matter of fact, I'm going to bring something up for you Oklahoma fans in here, show y'all something real quick, something that y'all probably like a lot. Bring this up for y'all. Sooners signed same number of on-3 industry top 20 players in California for 2024 as USC. Let's click on that for y'all. Make sure y'all got it up real quick before I proceed with these readings that are so epic to me. Here we go. All right. Scrolling on down here. As you can see here, when Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma for USC, one of the hot topics of discussion was Riley's ability to recruit the state of California. What they neglected to say, as I said in the podcast earlier today, is that he was at Oklahoma when he was recruiting California. And now that he's gone, Oklahoma's still recruiting California, but he's not. Which lends me to think that maybe, just maybe, is the Oklahoma label that the California kids are enamored with and not that jackass. All right. Says the Trojans only signed one player in on-3's top 10 from 2024, the same number that Brent Venables and the Sooners signed in the state of California. In fact, Oklahoma signee offensive lineman Eugene Brooks is ranked higher than USC's top signee, wide receiver Xavier Jordan. Meanwhile, Alabama and Oregon had multiple top 10 signees from the state. So it's coming from all directions. It ain't just Oregon and Oklahoma invading. You got teams on the East Coast coming in taking those players away. They're probably, a lot of them don't want to be in that state because it's a cesspool as far as politics goes. Well, I didn't agree with this article, as they said here, Lincoln Riley is a good coach, but letting Oregon and Dan Lanning come in and dominate the state will make it difficult for the Trojans to have long-term success, especially as they head into the big stink. And with Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and Oklahoma also invading California recruiting, it's not going to get any easier for Riley and his staff on the recruiting trail. How do you like me now? As the once great Toby Keith used to say, how do you like them now? How do you like those Sooners now? Shit. And like I said in the podcast earlier today, I got a question. First of all, when is that wall going to be built? I mean, for before long, UNLV is going to be coming over and taking your shit, right? If they ain't already are. Might want to have to build a wall in your city. I mean, UCLA just let go of Chip Kelly. That's another story that was big. UCLA's Chip Kelly left a head coaching job for Power 5 to go and be an offensive coordinator at Ohio State. I couldn't believe that. Second question I have for USC fans is, what are you going to do when you go into the Big Ten next year, or in the future, Ohio State and Michigan and Wisconsin and Penn State and all those great powerhouse names come out west and play out there, and their label, their brand gets exposure to the California kids? What you going to do then? Not only are you going to be fighting off the teams you're fighting off now, but now you got the problem where you've opened up California to the Big Stank Conference. It don't look good. So like I'm saying, man, what I would do if I was a USC fan out there, and I'm not saying this to troll y'all, even though y'all think I've been trolling you this whole time, but I haven't. Look back at what I've said and what's happened. I told y'all Lincoln Riley was a farce, and look what's happened. He went 7-5 last year. What y'all going to have to do is cut that cancer out of your program as soon as possible. Y'all need to fire Lincoln Riley's ass, I'm telling you. It ain't got nothing to do with Alex Grinch or whatever defensive coordinator you want to bring in there. It's all about the man in charge. Sooner Legends podcast is making some good comments tonight. He says Mary Carolina is an angelic person in the chat. She brings positive vibes. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Fred Bagley says Chip Kelly is looking to slip and take over for Ryan Day. Now, that's a good point, Fred Bagley. That should be one of those comments of the day. I ain't thought about that. That can entirely be the possibility. I think the same thing is going on in Arkansas too, by the way. You know, they got what's his name come back? What's his name? Bob Petrino has come back to Arkansas as the offensive coordinator. He used to be the head coach there when Arkansas was having some pretty great years under Bob Petrino until he slipped up and let his jack-in-the-box pop out into one of his co-workers or his secretary or something, and his wife caught him and she run him down on a motorcycle and knocked him off in the ditch and shit. Until that happened, Arkansas was a top 10, a perennially top 10 contending team. So it would not surprise me if Bob Petrino comes in there and takes the head coaching job away from Sam. Would not surprise me at all. Got a big donation coming in from the killer, the Breeze, the one they call Killer Breeze, with a $4.99 donation. Why does JPC hate softball? Well, there you go. There you go, poking the bull a little bit. Now, I went in my multi-chat today, and I apologize to everybody. I don't know if you've seen it, Killer Breeze, but the multi-chat that we're all in, if y'all want to be in that multi-chat on Facebook with us, add me on Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark, Jesse, without the I. And I'll add you as a friend and put you in the multi-chat. But I apologize to everybody. I was acting like a bit of an asshole last week. And there were some things I said that I do believe, but there were some things I was a little harsh about. So I apologize for that. I don't have nothing against softball. But those that come around saying that softball's 57-game win streak is just as impressive as Oklahoma's 47-game win streak in football are not being sincere. Either that or they're naive. Either that or their judgment is clouded because they're liberals who got all that Title IX X bullshit smoke blown up their ass. Softball is great. It's good. It's a good sport for women to excel in. Why don't they have men's softball, by the way? Just curious. I know they don't have women's baseball either. What is it about that, man? Because I know softball is actually played by men, like locally with the church groups and whatnot and that kind of deal. I mean, they got men's gymnastics at Oklahoma, and nobody barely has that. That's another thing that's pretty cringy, by the way. Y'all need to quit talking about that. Y'all need to quit bragging about being men's gymnastics champions because there's only 15 teams playing men's gymnastics. And 3 of those are Division III schools. Ha, just playing around, brother, and you are correct. The 47-game winning streak in football stands well above the softball streak. And the reason why I say that, people says, well, tell us why you believe that. Because, I mean, technically, they've won more games in a row. They've won 56 or 57, however many Patty Gasso's won. The reason why it's more impressive to me is, first of all, football, you don't have as many games. And people's like it, they think it should be impressive because there's so many games that you have to play in one season in softball. But actually, that makes it easier because you only have to do it all in 1 year or 2 years. Oklahoma had to do that shit in football over a period of 4 years, thereabouts. So to me, that's entirely more impressive than a 1 year, 1.5 year streak, maybe going on 2 years. But it's just a lot harder to me. It had nothing to do with gender. It's just, to me, college football is a much harder sport to dominate, as evidenced by the fact that there's never been a three-peat in college football. Not a unanimous one. Now, some people will go back and tell you Minnesota did it back in the 60s and Army done it in the 40s, but none of them were unanimous. Now we have a system in place where you can get a unanimous champion, whether it be repeat, three-peat, four-peat, whatever, and it still hadn't happened. As Georgia found out. Something always happens to derail that shit. Whereas, and I think it's the same way in the NFL. I don't think there's ever been a three-peat in the Super Bowl era. There may have been a three-peat back in the day when they didn't have the AFC and the NFC together, but they didn't have it like 18 teams or something back then. But ever since the AFC and the NFC merged and started with the Super Bowl era, there ain't been a three-peat. Football is a sport that you cannot, if you can repeat you've done something special. Whereas in basketball, you have this UCLA crap where they won like 7 or 8 in a row, and in baseball, where the Yankees won like 4 in a row or something in baseball, maybe even 6 or 7. I can't remember. Sooner Legends podcast says nothing will be greater than OU's 47-game winning streak. Well, one thing could be greater, and that's when Kalen DeBoer comes in, because he's 104-12, by the way. Kalen DeBoer will come in here. He's got the keys to the castle given to him, just like Nick Saban gave the keys to the castle to that moron Les Miles who went around eating grass like a goat in heat, and he was able to win a national championship and then go to another national title game where Nick Saban handed him his ass 21-0. But Nick Saban put in such a great structure at LSU that 3 other coaches were able to win titles, 3 coaches that were pretty much idiots. Ed Orgeron, I mean, he's funny and everything, but that guy was an idiot too. So, yeah, I think that Kalen DeBoer is a lot better coach than Les Miles, and he's going to come in with that structure already in place, and Alabama's going to beat Oklahoma's 47-game winning streak. Y'all heard it here first. Going away. No more 47-game win streak. Alabama's going to win 50 in a row under Kalen DeBoer. How you like me now? As Toby Keith once famously said. That's right. Oh, Toby Keith. And I posted a little link today on my community section on the channel of this boy. I guess he was a big Toby Keith fan. He was singing Toby Keith's song. I think he was probably about 8 years old. And the little boy was bawling, singing, I think it's Should Have Been a Cowboy. It was pretty epic. It's pretty epic, man. Not to try to somber the mood here, but Toby Keith, man, he was one of the greats. He was. What about the Steelers in their 70s run? The Steelers never three-peated, just so you know. I think they won 3 out of 4, but I don't think they ever three-peated. And I think maybe the Cowboys might have won 3 out of 4 in the 90s. I'm not sure about that. Or maybe 2 out of 3. Or the Cowboys repeat in the 90s? I think they did. I think they won 3 out of 4. Maybe they did. I don't know. I'm not a big NFL guy, so. But I know for certain that nobody's ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. Now, there's been a team that went to 4 Super Bowls in a row. Those Buffalo Bills that, Cuzzy boy likes. Cuzzy's Corner. He loves him some Buffalo Bills. Likes having his heart broke. That's what he told me. Because West Virginia's broke it for him, and so have the Bills. Like I said, they've got almost over 30 people now in here. If y'all want to get me to read your comment out, make a little donation to the show, there's a little money dollar sign at the bottom of this video, a little circle around it. Click on that, write your comment out, then hit send. It'll highlight your comment and push it to the top above the others, and I'll read it out. Just make a little small donation to the show. Lori says Bama will lose 3 games this year and the next couple of years. Well, how do you figure that, Lord? Explain to me how that's going to happen. Please do tell. Jeff Payton may be able to debate you on that. Jeff, what do you got to say about that? Tactical Matt Foley in the house. I love that name. Love that name. They get you in a posse, brother. They get you a badge. They were $2.99 a month, just a half a bottle of water for old JPC here. How many people think the Swifty Bowl? The Swifty Bowl, I like that. How many people think the Swifty Bowl was rigged? I don't know if it's rigged or not, but all that shit with Taylor Swift, man, it's awful. That's all I got to say. That's why I didn't watch it. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I watched, I think, the Super Bowl last year, and they were doing epically spastic shit in that game. So I decided I'm not going to watch them no more. I'd missed the previous 2 or 3 Super Bowls before that, so I've missed the 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls. I'm just not going to listen to that shit. I mean, I'm just not, man. It's just like college football. And the thing that really hurt me, it ain't got nothing to do with the transgender shit that they're trying to push. It's the disrespect to the national anthem by having a black national anthem. It's like they're singling out black people over every other race. And I don't have a problem with equality, but if it's equality, then I guess every race should have their own anthem then, right? If we're going by equality, black people should have their own anthem, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people. Hell, Asians are more of a minority. They should definitely have their own anthem. As smart as those guys are, I guess the Arabics need to have their own national anthem for the ball game, right? Who else? Am I leaving somebody out? Who else? Oh, the Indians. You know, the Indians were here before everybody. The Indians should have their own national anthem. It's horse shit. It's cowardly. It's spineless. And if Roger Goodell would give me the chance and I knew I wouldn't go to jail, I'd kick him right in the nuts and then slap his damn mouth. Oh, shit. Y'all starting that damn dating game shit in here again, Jeff. What are y'all doing, man? Y'all go get a room or something. Damn. Horn dogs up in here, boy. Jeff Payton says Lori's Buckeyes should lose 3 games every year. Alabama will run the table in 2024. What's going to happen when we go to Norman? What am I going to do? You know, I actually thought about changing the name of this podcast to, so I could keep the acronym, Outlaw of College Football. I thought about changing it to Outlaw of the Common Folk. And then I got to thinking, you know, I do a lot of stuff on Alabama and Oklahoma for the most part. Why don't I rename it the Two Crimson Nations? What do y'all think? Y'all think I should rename this podcast, or should I keep the name the same? Tactical Matt Foley makes a good point. Puerto Ricans need their own national anthem. Yeah, considering we won't make them a state. They've been trying to be a state for a while. We won't have it. But yet we've been thinking and contemplating making Washington, D.C. a state. We all know what that shit's about. I'm not going to get into all that because I'll probably end up getting some unsubscribers. I have about 7 or 8 unsubscribers, just so you know, Killer Breeze, who, by the way, just made a nice little donation to the program. You know, Killer Breeze made a little speech the other night on our live stream and basically told them that if you don't like us talking about variation of topics during the live streams, just fast forward past it or turn it off and come back. And he would like to apologize and say he's sorry for it, but he's not. And he basically told him KMCA. And they promptly unsubscribed my channel. So thank you, Killer Breeze, for helping me purge the cowards. Because I got about 8 unsubscribers, and they pointed to what you said. It's all your fault, Killer Breeze. It's all your fault, man. You run off all the liberals, man. You made life so much easier for mwah. See what we got here. Killer Breeze with a $4.99 donation says, how many people think it looks like Mahomes has a football up his ass when he walks? He does look a little perturbed. He looks like maybe he was one of those Ohio State players that got molested up the duty hole by the Clemson football player. Y'all remember that? I give Clemson hell about that shit. I start calling them Dabo and the Duty Diggers because they even had the audacity to say when they were asked about it, because it was called on national TV, it wasn't just a grazing of the ass cheek. This dude was full frontal throttle, 5 fingers deep up in Ohio State's player's ass with his hand. Just, what the hell is that about, Dabo? You're supposed to be a Christian, right? You got your guys out there molesting people? The guy that done it said, oh, that goes on in locker rooms all the time. So they asked the Alabama players who they were playing next for the national championship, what do y'all think about that? What did that happen to you? And they said, well, there'd probably be a lot of 15-yard penalties after that because we don't play that shit. So it was a damn lie that the Clemson players told just to try to play off their perverse way of thinking. Hey, man, I'm not going to leave Dabo alone if he's in the wrong, man. I like Dabo just like you. I like Dabo. But he needs to tell his players to keep their hands out of the crotch of players' asses. And then, I'm sure he admonished the player, but then he allowed the player to go into a press conference and say that shit's normal. That shit's not normal, Jeff. Dabo didn't make him do it. I understand that. But Dabo and the duty diggers could have told that dude, shut the hell up. Just say no comment. Don't try to defend yourself molesting some player, Mark Clark asks me, JPC, are you coming to Norman for the Sooner Tide game? Well, Mark, I want to come, but financially speaking, I'm not sure if that's going to be possible, but we'll see. Mark Clark has his badge too, by the way. He's deputized. He's in the Outlaw Posse. Tactical Matt Foley says, remember, Dabo was on staff at Alabama when Alabama got put on probation. Yeah, he was, but that was more of the NCAA had an axe to grind, and Gene Stallings threw out David Swank out of his office. And from that point on, they had it in for us. And they done their little quid pro quo with slimy-ass Phil Fulmer, who was doing the same thing, basically. They were paying T. Martin, had a money trail on him through Western Union to a Tennessee booster in Mobile, Alabama. And they let Tennessee off if they promised to sell Alabama out. Just a history lesson for y'all. There we go with the Dayton game again. The Horn Dogs are up tonight. Let's see what we got here. Michael McCullough says, unless we have the same anthem, it's not a national anthem. Exactly. Exactly, Michael. Exactly what you said, man. And I was being facetious and being sarcastic as hell, as I'm sure y'all could realize. I'm just saying. I mean, if African American, black, whatever the proper term is nowadays, if they're gonna have their own anthem, then everybody should have one. Yes, there was some bad stuff that went on a long time ago. They got mistreated by people of their own race and the white race. That's true, but it's happened throughout history, not just the black people. As you know, going even further back, I'm sure the Romans mistreated a lot of different peoples, whether it be the Spaniards, the Egyptians, the Turkish people, the Greek people, the Jewish people who were really, really mistreated by Hitler. He tried to eradicate the whole Jewish population. I'm just saying that every race has had a point in their history during this world where they've been mistreated by other races. Probably going to get some unsubscribers for saying that shit, by the way. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to start booting people. Great history lesson, Outlaw. Never heard about that T. Martin. Wow. Yeah, it happened. And people say, well, you just saying because an Alabama fan. No, it happened. It happened. Ask T. Martin. He'll tell you. It happened. John Madden once said about quarterbacks, if you have two, you don't have one. The same can be said about the national anthem. I wholeheartedly agree, Wade Harrell. Very well said. I'm going to use that one in a podcast. I can guarantee you that. Big Honest Kelly says, you may want to worry about your own girlfriend, not everyone else's, like for real. Yep. It always happens every time we're in here, man. We get off course. Everybody veers off course, but that's the way we like it because this is the home of the Common Joe and the Common Sal and the No. Even more so than all the media talking heads. We don't just know sports. We know politics. We know it all. Hell, we even got Jeff on here. He could be our next Dr. Phil. He could, or he could be Chuck Fairbanks on the Dayton game. Maybe you should start channel, Jeff, called Dating Game with Jeff. Tactical Matt Foley says, I was teaching high school science and coaching 3 sports at the time. Didn't have much spare time in 1998. Not sure where that was going, but anyway. Now I'm going to pull something else up for you Oklahoma fans out there. Just something I think that y'all like real quick. Almost lost track of that. This is the Oklahoma news from Yard Barker. I saw a few things that y'all probably be pretty interested in. Let me see if y'all got it up. That's not the correct one, is it? Stop screen. Let me get y'all this information I got from Yard Barker for the Oklahoma Sooner fans out there. Says Oklahoma is making a strong pitch for a 5-star linebacker. Jonah Williams can play college football anywhere he wants. 5-star linebacker safety from Galveston, Texas, is one of the top defenders. He already boasts over 30 offers, including verbals from several blue blood programs like Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Oregon, Texas, and USC, among others. For one, Oklahoma is leaning into Williams' ability as an athlete that includes his skills on the baseball diamond. Oklahoma used this baseball angle before to get quite a few good players. Very good tactic, in my opinion. So, once again, Oklahoma seems to be in the mix for all the 5-star. You know, Brent Venables could have come in here and went after 3- and 4-star athletes and tried to develop them in his efforts to try to learn to be a head coach. But the guys come in and not back down one bit. Had a top 10 class his very first year, even after all the turmoil and being rated. So, scrolling back a little bit. Also for Oklahoma, y'all had 3 players invited to the NFL Combine. Tyler Guyton, Andrew Ram, and Walter Rouse are all headed to Indianapolis to participate in the Combine. That's always good news, and it helps in recruiting when these recruits see that your players are getting invited to the NFL Combine, because a lot of the players, that's where they want to be. Also, talking about softball, since y'all want me to touch on that a little bit, Oklahoma pitcher lands Big 12 honor 1 week into her Sooner career, and Kelly Maxwell is already off to a great start. She was named Big 12 Pitcher of the Week. So, as far as Oklahoma softball goes, and she's a freshman, I think, it just seems like y'all reload in softball. And that's one good thing that Oklahoma's doing coming into the SEC. They're not just being all about football. They're making sure they're varied and across the board in athletics. Who are the best teams in the SEC right now? Says John Ritchie. Well, I would say that, of course, my team, Alabama, is still one. Even though Nick Saban's not here, Alabama's been winning national championships since 1925. So I don't think we're going to go away like people think. As a matter of fact, like I told Killer Breeze, what are people going to do when Alabama beats them without Nick Saban? Because a lot of people have been used as a crutch and as an excuse. And they said, well, Alabama's just about Nick Saban. When Nick Saban leaves, we'll beat Alabama. Well, what if you don't? What's going to be your excuse then? Because next year Alabama's probably not going to fall off the face of the college football earth. I don't think Alabama's going to be going 7-5 like USC did this year, for example. I think Alabama probably win at least 10 games next year. So that means there's going to be 10 teams who are going to be like, oopsie, we don't have that excuse anymore. Alabama just beat our ass without Nick Saban, and that's going to happen. And it's going to happen a lot. And some of y'all are going to beat us, but most of y'all are not. And that's the bottom line. Because Bama 316 said so. But the other teams, I'd say, of course, Georgia, Captain Obvious. I think Texas is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Oklahoma, I think they'll win at least 9 games next year, regular season. I don't know if Florida's going to recover from last year's debacle. Tennessee's off and on. LSU is always a force. It seems like to be reckoned with, no matter who the coach is. So those are the teams I think of when I think of powerhouses in the SEC. Missouri is coming on. A lot of people don't want to hear that shit, but Missouri's coming on. And Missouri's had a lot of smack talk for you Oklahoma Sooners out there. A lot of Oklahoma fans are already disliking Missouri already. Texas A&M is another team that's off and on. One year they'll win 9 or 10 games. Next year they only win 5. So y'all tell me. Maxwell transferred from Oklahoma State. The OSU coach was pissed off on TV. Really? I didn't know that. By the way, I heard something. I said it in the podcast today. Y'all tell me whether this is true or not. Oklahoma State said they approached Oklahoma just about a week or two ago about renewing the Bedlam series in maybe 2 years. And they said that Oklahoma asked for some unfair stipulations. They said that the Sooners and Joe Castiglione asked that Oklahoma get 7 home games to Oklahoma State's 3 home games in a 10-game series. Is that true? Are y'all trying to further punk Mike Gundy? I'm a man. I'm 54. I'm 55. I'm about to get fired. I'm a man. Are y'all trying to punk them out with a 7-3 10-game series? Is that going on? Are y'all making poor old Okie Pokey State choke out again? What are y'all doing, man? Why are y'all picking on poor old Okie Pokey State? Let them have that Bedlam trophy and make them think that they done something special by winning 20 games against 91 for 100+ years. Well, all right. I just wanted to come in and holler at y'all for just a second, hang out with y'all. Always love hanging out with y'all and talking to y'all back and forth and interacting. I don't guess John Ritchie's going to make it tonight. But if you don't mind, like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, jump out of here and smash that like button. If you smash that like button, it'll push it to the algorithm and we'll get more people in here and whatnot. And you want to get a comment in real quick before I get up out of here, just click on the little money dollar sign down there if you want to keep the conversation going. And it'll highlight and push to the top, and I'll answer it as soon as it gets highlighted and pushed to the top. With that, I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.